All right, here we got the 2012 F150 5-liter Coyote engine. We're gonna do the water pump. So first I'm gonna get this out of the way. 2 clips. Pull them out, put a screwdriver on those, loosen them, pull them out. Then I'm gonna go ahead and get this throttle body out of the way. There's 4 bolts here. I believe this is 8mm. Yeah, it's an 8mm, so 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts on that. Put the throttle body out of the way. I'm just gonna go ahead and crack these 4 bolts on the water pump pulley loose. These are 10mm. So those 4 bolts are loosened up. Now I'm gonna put a, let's see, I think this is 14mm. Double check here. 15mm. I just got this on my breaker bar socket, put it on there. I'm gonna turn that counterclockwise, and that's gonna lift that tensioner pulley up so you can take the belt off. All right, I got that belt out of there. So now I am going to start taking these hoses out. I've got 2 bolts that hold this in. This is your thermostat housing in here. So I'm gonna take these 2 bolts out. I'm gonna pull this hose off. Hopefully from this end, possibly this end if that one's stuck. I'm gonna pull this clip and that clip out. So these, you slide these metal clips here out, and these hoses just pull right off. There's little O-rings inside of them that you may want to get the kit to replace those O-rings while you're in there. I'm not going to, because I actually just recently replaced this Y piece, so those O-rings are only a couple weeks old in this one. Okay, I got some of that out of the way. I got that Y pipe out of the way. You can see this here. This line goes down in here. That's another 8mm bolt, so I'll pull that out. Here's that Y pipe. So here's one side of it. You see these metal clips. You pull that tab out there out. It'll seat that into that little notch there. And then you see that orange there and that black. There's an O-ring that sits right in there. If you need to replace those, one of these little dentist tools works good for that. These little things are good for getting in those grooves and pulling them out. You pick these up at Harbor Freight for like maybe 10 bucks or something for the set. Okay, with all that stuff pulled out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and take these 4 bolts that I cracked open earlier off the rest of the way and hopefully pull this pulley off. So the reason I loosened those up with the belts still on was because if I tried to do it now, it's just gonna spin. All right, with that off, you can see it's just gonna go right on there on the new one. Now, when I broke this loose, and this, I did tap on this with a hammer to get it loosened up and then just wobbled it out. You may need some kind of pulley puller. I didn't. You definitely don't want to beat this all up or you're gonna need a new one. So now I'm gonna get these 4 bolts out. I'll show you on the new one where they're at. Those are also 10mm. Let's see, there's 1, 2, and then 3 and 4 down below. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull them out now. All right, with those 4 bolts out, this should pull out of here. Ooh. And it does, it wiggles a bit, so I'm just gonna have to get in there with 2 hands, wiggle it back and forth, pull it out. All right, she's out of there now. The old one, the new one. So you've got these 2 O-rings come with it. One goes on that pipe that goes down in there. That's right here. See that? I don't even know where the original one is. Maybe it's stuck in the old water pump. This other one, see that rigid one there? That's gonna replace this right here. gonna use one of these little guys just to pop it out of there. And then, yeah, this thing's spinning pretty good. I think the pump itself was actually working, but I'm not sure. I think this O-ring's just bad. So there's the new one there. And when you put this in, I'm gonna lube this up just a little bit. You're gonna wanna slide this in as straight as possible because they don't want you moving it around a bunch in there and scratching up this O-ring. So I'm gonna get to it. So that's on there. Now I'm gonna take the pulley, put it on here, and I'm gonna hand tighten, screw these in. They won't get tightened down all the way until this belt's back on, because that belt, the tension from it will hold this pulley still so that you can torque on these and get them tightened up. If not, you're just gonna spin that. So there's that. There's the old O-ring. It's flattened out there. I'm gonna go ahead and pick that out of there, and then I'm gonna put the new one on there. So there it is with the new one on. That's gonna slide down in that hole, and it tightens down with a bolt into there. So that's tightened on. I got my thermostat housing. Here's the new gasket I put in there. This one's nice, it's rigid, so it sticks in there nice. You can feel that ridge, it's gonna seal right against there. Now I'm gonna put this, that, this Y piece all kind of together at once. First I'm gonna slide this onto here, then I'm gonna slide it onto there. Then I'm gonna bolt these down because this gets a little tight in there to try to get this stuff on after that's bolted in. Okay, I have that back on. Goes in. I'm gonna go ahead and put this serpentine belt back on. There's a tensioner pulley. Again, that's a 14 millimeter. And now's a good time to replace that belt if it needs replaced. Also, while you have this apart, it doesn't hurt to pull. There's 2 bolts here on that thermostat housing. Go into that hose, your thermostat's in there with an O-ring. Might be a good time to replace that. I actually just replaced this one yesterday because it was leaking, but that was just the least of my problems. It was pouring out of the water pump but dripping out of there. So now I'm here doing the water pump. But yeah, now while you have this part is a good time to replace those. See, it loops around this bottom pulley, around the tensioner, and it comes all the way back around the water pump pulley, and then down around the alternator. So what I do is I put them on, all of them except for the tensioner pulley, get my 14 millimeter breaker bar on the tensioner pulley, turn it counterclockwise, and then slide that on, and it's on there. So now I'm going to go ahead and tighten up these 4 bolts. I believe these were 10 millimeter. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the throttle body back in. If you want to, now's a good time to clean that as well. I'm going to go ahead and hook this radiator hose back up. Now, do you see that slot on the bottom? There's a little nub on the bottom of this that's to line up with, so it's not going in. Yeah, you turn it a little bit till it does. Push that pin back up, and then there you go. That's the same for this one down here. Same for the one to your coolant tank. And again, these O-rings, you're gonna wanna look at the O-rings inside these connections with those clips, because those do wear flat. And if they're flattened out, you don't replace them, they're just gonna leak eventually. They'll probably leak pretty soon. What happens is they don't leak until you take them apart, and then you put them back together, and then, you know, they were seated in there, they were flat, but they were flat where they need to be. You put them back in and they leak. So that's that. All I gotta do is put this, put the air filter back in, or the intake hose from the air filter, to tighten up those clamps. And I'm gonna fill up my antifreeze, top it off, let it run, get up to heat, check it, top it off again. Obviously, I'm gonna wait till it cools down and check it so I don't spray stuff all over me, but thanks for watching. Hope this helps. Hit the subscribe button. Have a good day.